Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Christopher Lane. Lane was shot and killed on Friday, February 21st, 2014, near 59th Street and Linden Avenue in Long Beach, according to LA County coroner records. David Jacob Smith and James Lewis Smith were subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. At around 1:50 p.m. on February 21st, 2014, Miss Allen was walking down a Long Beach sidewalk with victim Christopher Lane. Defendant James and his brother, defendant David, were walking the opposite direction and approached the victim and Miss Allen. Defendant James bumped into Miss Allen and asked her, "Baby, what you doing with him?" He also asked Miss Allen and the victim where they were from, which Miss Allen interpreted as gangbanging. Defendant James told him this ain't no hub city, which Miss Allen took as a disrespectful reference to the Compton hat she was wearing. Miss Allen and the victim said they didn't gangbang and tried to walk away. Defendant David said, "This is babies, this is our city," which Miss Allen understood as a reference to a local gang she knew as insane. Defendant James then insulted Miss Allen and told her that she was out of pocket. Miss Allen responded in kind. At some point, defendants David and James asked Miss Allen and the victim to go around the corner. Miss Allen and the victim refused. At that point, either defendant James struck Miss Allen or she struck him. Miss Allen set the former on direct examination and the latter on cross to the police. When defendant David tried to intervene, the victim struck him and the two men began fighting as well. After defendant David and the victim exchanged some blows, the victim knocked defendant David to the ground. Miss Allen and defendant James stopped fighting and were just standing there looking shocked. Miss Allen told the victim, "Let's go," and they started to walk away. Defendant David then got up, drew a gun, and fired 3 or 4 shots at the victim's back. The victim was struck and fell to the ground. Miss Allen knelt down next to the victim and began talking to him. Defendant David approached, put his revolver about a foot from Miss Allen's face, and threatened to kill her. Miss Allen told defendant David to go ahead, but he withdrew the gun. Miss Allen then stood up to call 911 and the victim's mother. Defendants David and James walked away, going in different directions. Miss Allen estimated the entire encounter took no more than 2 minutes. After the shooting, defendants James and David stayed in various hotels with their cousin Miss Otts, who believed they had been involved in the robbery. Sometime later, defendant James was arrested and placed in a jail cell with 2 government informants. His conversation with them was recorded. During the conversation, defendant James told the informants he was from Babies in Long Beach, but he and his older brother had been apprehended in LA for hood shit. Defendant James said that shit happened when the victim and Miss Allen started it. When asked if he and his brother had been on a gangbanging trip, defendant James said lowball, we was cool, but the victim who was from Compton, he had been tripping. Defendant James claimed that he had thrown punches at the victim and denied fighting Miss Allen. He further acknowledged that his brother had shot the victim in the back and said that he was 5 or 10 feet away at the time. When one of the informants asked defendant James if he had burned the clothes he had been wearing, defendant said He also acknowledged his role in disposing of the gun. A felony complaint filed March 11, 2014 charged defendants James and David with the murder of victim Lane and the assault of Miss Allen with a firearm, including gun and gang allegations against both defendants, and personal use firearm allegations against defendant David only. On April 5, 2017, defendant James and the people agreed to a plea deal. Under the terms of the agreement, the people added a charge of voluntary manslaughter to the information. Defendant James pled no contest to all 3 charges and applicable enhancements. Defendant David proceeded to trial, at which a jury found him guilty of second-degree murder, assault, and found the enhancements true. The court sentenced defendant David to 40 years to life in state prison. On May 8, 2017, in accordance with the plea agreement, the people dismissed the murder and assault charges and enhancement allegations, and the trial court sentenced defendant James to the midterm of 6 years for voluntary manslaughter. He was later released after time served. Christopher Emmett Lane was 24 years old at the time of death.